Extremely toxic best friend story time. So when I was in 8th grade, there was this boy. And this boy would go around telling almost every girl that he liked her. And I was one of those girls. And he would do stuff with all of us. And there were like 11 of us. So we all hated each other. Especially this one girl, and we're gonna call her Abby. And every time we saw each other, we would be super mean to each other. Well, a year passed, we stopped talking to this kid. And I bumped into her at homecoming and basically apologized. So after that, we became best friends. And everything was good until every time I told her about a guy, she would start talking to them. Like this one boy that I was Snapchatting and talking to, she accidentally sent nudes to him and said, "Oh, sorry, I meant to send them to my boyfriend." So then she called one of my other best friends and said, "No, it actually wasn't an accident." And of course he told me because he was my best friend. So I was like, whatever, and stopped talking to the boy. And she did it again, like for part 2.
Okay, so story time. So let's start from the beginning. So basically, I was supposed to go on this trip with the guy I was dating at the time. We'll call him Nick. Anyways, long story short, we broke up. And a few months later, I started talking to this guy. We'll call him Alex. So I asked Alex if he wanted to go, but it was too late. I still went on the trip anyways. By the way, he was my ex, so... But keep in mind, it wasn't anything serious. I always keep a rule that I never date my ex again. Because if it didn't work out the first time, what makes you think it will work out again? So fast forward, we're on the trip, and I'm sitting with my friend. We'll call her Melissa. Melissa wanted to sit up front with all the guys. So I said sure, and we went up there. So we sat there and everything was fine. I was talking with Alex on the phone, like texting him, Snapchatting him, all that. And the guy had asked me and Melissa if we wanted to play Truth or Dare. To be honest, I didn't know what to expect. But also, I didn't want to look like a sellout. So what did I do? Yeah, I played the game. Like for part 2. Okay, part 2. So the rules of the game were you either had to do a dare or say the truth, and if you didn't, you had to step into the bus bathroom, which smelled disgusting. But anyways, we started, and the first dare that they gave me was super weird, and I felt uncomfortable, but I still did it. Not appropriate for TikTok, so let me not say it, but yeah, so super bad. And our principal was literally 5 rows down from us, which was super awkward. Anyways, we kept playing and stuff, and then came my turn, and they dared me to sit on one of my guy best friend's lap, who at the time had a huge crush on me. I thought it wasn't a big deal, so I did it. And after I got up, everyone in our group started laughing. And I was like, what the heck is going on? They said he got something that also isn't appropriate for TikTok, so I'm not gonna say. I flipped out, and honestly, I wanted to cry right then and there. He got so embarrassed he stopped playing the game and we didn't talk to each other for the rest of the ride. Then I had to do another dare. Part 3. Okay, so my next dare was to kiss this person on the cheek, which I did, nothing major. So we get to the stop and our group teacher / leader told us we can go wherever, which was good because we went everywhere with the guys. But I felt a little weird because half of them liked me or thought I was hot. But I was still talking to Alex, so no one wanted to mess with him because he was strong. Okay, yeah. Okay, so back to the story. So anyways, we went on and did some things. It was basically what we did. We bought some stuff as a group. We were chilling out. But we even went on a bus tour, which we almost got kicked out of because some person on the bus kept complaining of us. We weren't even that loud, so I don't know. Well, anyways, when we got back, we had lunch at this cool place with our teacher. Oh, but here comes the fun part. We were ready to leave after the day was done. And on my way home, we planned on stopping at some rest stop kind of place, which is when everything turned to hell. Like for part 4.
Story time on how I sent my nudes to my dad. I'm talking full, clear, tunnel vision to my cat child. Just know this story ends with me getting my behind beat. So I was 17 at the time and I had a boyfriend who was also 17 and we've been together for 1 year. We were in the same grade, but we always had different classes, so I usually seen him during lunch. My parents were super strict and religious, so we had to keep our relationship on the low. So my boyfriend always asked me to send him nudes, but I never had the guts to send it to him. One day over the phone, me and my boyfriend had a heart-to-heart and he told me that he would never break my trust and that I can trust him with everything. So I decided I was going to surprise him for his birthday and send him the you-know. The night before his birthday, I decided I was going to send him the nudes exactly at 12 a.m. Biggest mistake ever. Like for part 2. Part 2 on how I sent my nudes to my dad. Like I said, I decided to surprise my boyfriend with a note for his birthday. When the clock struck midnight was when exactly I was going to send the pictures and wish him a happy birthday. On my phone, my boyfriend name was David with a red heart emoji, and my dad was under dad with the 2 pink heart emojis. 2 very different contacts, but at the same time, way too close. I took the pictures with nothing on. I'm talking full birthday suit. I bent down in front of that mirror, legs wide open, and one in a bed with my selfie stick. I was literally so anxious that I didn't even realize what happened. When I went to go text my boyfriend, my dad texted me. I thought I just swiped up the message to get it out my way, but instead I hit the message. So once I hit the message, it switched me from texting my boyfriend to texting my dad. If you have an iPhone, you know exactly what I mean. But anyways, I didn't realize that I was texting my dad, so I went and sent the nudes. Once I found out, I literally wanted to die. Like for part 3. Part 3 on how I sent my nudes to my dad. Like I said, I hit my dad's message by mistake and ended up sending the pictures to him. I still didn't realize I texted my dad, so I just threw my phone on the bed, anxiously waiting for my boyfriend's reply. 2.5 seconds later, my dad barges into the house and is literally screaming at the top of his lungs. I was actually confused until my dad said, "Why would you disrespect your body like that?" Once I realized everything, it was already too late. I got the beating of my lifetime and my phone was taken away, but only for like a week because of safety purposes. When I went to school, I explained everything to my boyfriend and he was so shocked. He did say he appreciated even the attempt. I eventually took nudes directly on my boyfriend's phone, and we're still currently together. But for the rest of my school year, I had to deal with even more strict parents. Watch who you text, guys.
Story time on how my wig came off in front of my date. The guy I was meeting up with on the date was one of my friend's co-workers. She actually set us up because she thought that he would be my type. Fast forward, we go to Fridays, and we're having a great time. And he seems like a nice, all-around type of guy. Now, that day, my wig was slayed, and I believe the hair was like 30 inches. When the waitress comes over, she gives me and my date our plate of food. Before she leaves, she asks us if there anything else we needed. We said no. Then she put a pen that she had in her hand in her back pocket, and like I said before, my hair was really long, and she ended up sweeping a few of my hairs in her pocket. When the waitress walks away, my wig pops off, and me and my date are in shock. He stares at me for a good 10 seconds, and I tell him I needed to go to the bathroom, and I also got my wig back. But when I come back out to apologize and continue our date, he disappears. Oh yeah, and I also ended up paying for the whole date.
This is why you should never eat peanut butter.
So my cousin just had her baby girl, and she was just getting around and learning to be a new mommy. But she was really messy when it came to changing diapers. When Father's Day came, she threw the party and invited all the family and their kids. When everyone gets there, everyone is having a good time, and she pulls out bread and starts making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for all the kids. In the middle of her preparing, her daughter starts crying, and it's because she needed her diaper changed. So she went into the bathroom to change her diaper, and after she got done, she handed her to me and starts to wash her hands. Afterwards, she just went right back to making the sandwiches. Once she got done, she handed all the kids a sandwich, and I noticed that she had peanut butter on her arm, and I told her to wash it off. And she was like, no biggie, and licked it off her arm. And she realized really quickly that it wasn't peanut butter.
This story time is how I caught my uncle filling on my cousin, in other terms, his daughter. So when I was 11, my cousin was throwing a party, then afterwards a sleepover. By the way, we're calling her Adrian, and she was turning 13. So the day of the party, me and my other sister were dropped off by my dad, and we were dropped off very early, maybe 5 hours before the party, and that's because he had to go to work, and my uncle didn't mind taking us all together to the party. Plus, we got to help them set up for the party. When we arrived, we went to Adrian's room, and she got her hair done. It looked so good. When we were talking to her, she just seemed so sad. And you know, when you're younger, you can tell when things are off. She seemed bratty, and she would say that she hated her mom and her dad. To me, I'm like, why? She has the perfect life. Fast forward, she throws the party, and when it's all over, we go back to her house for the slumber party. We ate snacks, played games, watched movies till we fell asleep. I'm a light sleeper, and when everyone was asleep, my uncle came in the living room, tapped on Adrian's shoulder, and told her she gotta go to sleep in her bed tonight. Let me know if I should. This is part 2 of how I caught my uncle touching on my cousin, in other terms, his daughter. So early before, I told you guys everyone went to sleep. We were all asleep in the living room floor in front of the TV, and my uncle tapped on Adrian, telling her that she needed to sleep in her bed tonight. I'm a light sleeper and I was woke the whole time. Adrian was still asleep, so my uncle picked her up and took her to her room. I was confused on why she had to go to sleep in her room because everyone was asleep downstairs. So 15 minutes passed. I'm still waiting there bored. I don't know what came to me, but I was just curious to see if Adrian was up. I mean, she might have been because I would have woke up if I was switched to a new room. I don't know. I just went up. When I got upstairs, I opened the door. Adrian was asleep, but she was completely naked, and my uncle was sitting right next to her, touching on her. I'm out of time. Let me know if I should make a part 3.
This is part 3 of how I caught my uncle touching on my cousin, in other terms, his daughter. Like I said, I couldn't sleep, so I went upstairs to see if Adrian was up. When I opened up the door, Adrian was asleep, but she was naked, and my uncle was touching on her. I got scared and was about to run downstairs, but he ran after me, covered up my mouth, and sat me back down in the room. I started crying, and he said if I didn't shut up, he was going to beat me, so I shut right up. In the midst of it all, when he was standing up, I didn't notice before, but he had on no pants. I started sniffling, and the noise I was making had woke Adrian up. She looked at me, then looked at herself and saw that she had on no clothes. She jumped back and immediately wrapped herself up in a blanket. I started crying again, and my uncle said, "If you don't shut up, girl, I'm going to smack you." Then Adrian yelled at him and said, "Don't hurt her." And immediately he popped her and said, "What I tell you about talking back?" And from there, Adrian just sat there frozen, touching her face, and I shut right up.
Okay, so story time. So let's start from the beginning. I have 2 brothers. We'll call the oldest one Mark and the youngest one Robert. So my brother Mark moved to New York for college, so once in a while we go and visit him. My parents decided before my summer break ended to go and visit Mark for like a little vacation, because why not? So my parents are the type of people who like to get to airports hours before our flight. So we get there, go through security and buy some snacks. The lines were long, so it took up some time. We headed in our area and we looked through the windows and it was thundering and raining really hard. A few minutes later, the speakers come on and they say our flight is delayed. So we're like, okay, whatever, we'll just wait, because what else are we going to do? So around 2 hours pass, my dad goes up to the front desk where our gate is and asked if our plane was ready. He said no, so we waited a little bit longer. Then my dad asked again, and they said no again. And this happened for like 4 more times. So finally they said, yes, we're literally waiting for you guys. You're delaying the plane. Like, huh? Like for part 2. Part 2. We grabbed all our stuff, ran to the gate, went through, and went on the plane. Once we got on the plane, everyone was so mad. Before we even stepped foot on the plane, everyone was yelling at us, booing us, saying it's our fault they're late to whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's our fault the plane is delayed. There was even this one point where a lady started clapping, saying, finally, you guys made us wait long enough. My parents got mad and kind of started yelling back because she was being rude to the point where we all almost got kicked out. But luckily we didn't. But it literally wasn't our fault. The person in the front desk wasn't telling us anything till the last minute. But anyways, we put everything away. We sat in our seats. My mom was a little embarrassed. But I just didn't care. And neither did my dad. So we had a good flight. Kind of. We visited my brother. And yeah.
This boy lied about his age just to date me. Story time. So back when my cute self was a senior in high school, there was this new girl that came to our school. Long story short, me and her ended up becoming super close. I went to her house, spent the night. Her family loved me. I mean, why wouldn't they? Anyways, she had a brother. We're gonna call him Binky. Me and Binky got pretty close. Now I want you guys to keep in mind, Binky didn't go to my school because their parents were divorced. So the sister who I was friends with lived with her mom. And Binky lived with his dad, who lived in another city. But sometimes Binky would go to his mom's house, which is how I met him. Now that we got that out of the way, as me and Binky were getting closer, one day he asked me, hey, how old are you? And I was like, oh, I just turned 17. How about you? He told me, oh, I'm 17 too, but my 18th birthday is coming up. After a while, me and him eventually started dating. Then one day, I ran into his cousin, who happened to go to my school. The rest of this story is crazy. This boy lied about his age just to date me. Story time. So I ran into his cousin who just so happened to go to the same school as me. What a small world. Anyways, we start having a conversation and she asked me, oh my God, are you dating Binky? And I was like, oh, how do you know that? Because at the time, I didn't know that she was his cousin. And he didn't go to the same school as me. So I didn't know how she would have known that. And then she tells me, oh, oh, that's my cousin. As we're talking, she says, oh, are you gonna go to his birthday party? And I'm like, no, he actually didn't tell me he was having a birthday party. Weird. And she's like, yeah, that's really weird because it's like coming up next week. And I'm just sitting here like, well, maybe he'll tell me. He probably just had a lot on his mind. And then she says, I can't believe he's gonna be 16 already. Time flies. We're gonna throw him a sweet 16 party. After she says that, I just look at her like, you mean 18, right? Like, you said 16. I think you meant 18. Sorry, there has to be a part 3. This boy lied about his age just to date me. Story time. Part 3. So his cousin starts talking about I can't believe he's gonna be 16. And I look at her thinking I'm tripping. Like, you said 18, right? Like, you didn't mean 16, you meant 18. And then she's like, no, I meant 16. So that's when I found out he's actually 16 or about to be 16. So I was 17 dating a 15-year-old. And I know a lot of you were like, oh my God, it's not really that much of an age gap. Listen, the fact that he lied about it is bad enough for me. Secondly, I would have been 18 and he still would have been 16, turning 17. But that's a little weird for me and I didn't want to catch a case. That's why I wasn't looking for a younger boy. After I find out this new information, of course I tell my best friends. And they start hyping me up, break up with him, which is what I did. I sent him this huge paragraph. I kind of went off. Of course, he replied to my paragraph saying, I'm sorry, I don't want to lose you, blah, blah, blah. I basically told him, sorry, I don't want to be with liar. I blocked him and haven't seen him